Hello everybody. Today I'm here to compare my design of the mayor to the official endgame design from Disney Heroes Battle Mode. As I always do with the hero concepts I created that I've since turned into actual characters in the game. So as always, we'll start off by looking at mine, since I did create mine first after all. Now remember, this is one of the earliest ones I made. It might have even been the second one because I made it in preparation to release for the on Halloween, and I definitely don't feel as strong about it now as I did back then. I think just like the way that I made some of the lines, while it is somewhat accurate to the style of the Nightmare Before Christmas, I just don't like it all that much. But I will say some things to keep in mind are the mayor sort of pin on his chest, as well as the scrolls in his hand, and I guess kind of just like the proportions of his body in general. I don't know. But those are the things that stick out to me. Now let's look at the official design. So you can see already the details are a lot nicer. I really like the skin tone that they chose for him. It's much brighter and more just like visually appealing, I would say. Again, looking at the pin and the proportions of his body. And also I love that the eye is on the back of his head, showing that there is something back there and it can spin around and show you the worried side as well. So now let's look at them both together, and you can kind of see some of the glaring differences. Again, those scrolls that he has in his arm on mine, I was just using a reference where he had that, and I figured why not, I might as well just draw it. I was getting used to this still, and I wasn't really making my own poses for some of these things. Like nowadays I doubt I would have put that there, but I just stuck strictly to what I saw, and I left this in there, and it's kind of weird, but I think the rest of it, I mean, for the most part is the same. I really hate the way the hat turned out on mine, and obviously they did a great job with that on theirs. The mayor pin for the most part is the same, but I really dislike the way that it turned out on mine. The way that I tried to squish it into the spot there to make it look like it was kind of facing away. I just think that I messed up the proportions on that a little bit. And the way that they solved it, I guess, was just by having it right in your face flat so that they didn't have to do any of that. And I think their colors are probably a bit more accurate. I messed with the colors a lot. Although, yeah, it does look somewhat brown in the movie, but I think the whole movie itself just kind of has that brown tint, so I'm not sure. I don't know. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty similar. I think they gave him way less teeth than I did, but again, I was just using a picture from the movie, so I guess mine is maybe more accurate than theirs on that. But like all the other details we each did. But of course, theirs always ends up being better just because they have a professional doing it, but let's move on to the skills. I don't know the best way to do this, so maybe I'll just go through everything that I mentioned. So the entrance animation I said was that he'd pull up in his car and he would wave. His basic attack would be to spin and hit with his arms. His active and passive moves, I wasn't exactly sure what they would be, but I knew he would have some since he has the happy face and worried face. And I said for the active one, for the passive one, he uses his megaphone that helps allies, and then in its active form it would be on the worried side and maybe would hurt enemies when he used his megaphone. Then I said he rides on his Christmas sleigh and drives through enemies. Now if you have played as this character at all in the game, you know how boring of a character he is. Just going through his skills, like maybe not three, but two of them have the megaphone used for them, which I did accurately predict. That's basically the only thing I did predict. But I also had the passive and active forms, and it does change based on their mood. And in its passive form, it does give some HP to the person, or to your allies. I just said it gave helpful effects, but I think that still counts. There's one that says, in the scares and silence, if the mayor is happy, he waves cheerfully at all enemies, scaring and shattering them for a duration. If the mayor is worried, he screams at all enemies. Enemies take no damage while being silenced and sat for a duration. So I said for his entrance that he would wave, so I guess I technically got that right. But, I mean, the main thing to note is that the mayor just doesn't do a whole lot in the movie, so it's actually pretty hard to pick out what you want him to do. And that certainly shows across when you're looking at his animations, when he's literally just using his microphone, screaming and waving, and that's all he is doing. Actually, that's not true. He does spin his face around for a split second, which I really wish would be more of a main thing, where he would switch it and it would stay, and he would be in his worried form for a little bit. I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity. I think my skills, my list of skills, is much more interesting, much more diverse, which of course was the whole point. But I don't know how many of those actually make sense, I guess, to become moves. I know that at one point his spider comes off and is in the megaphone, and I always thought that'd be cool if he maybe like shot the spider out at the enemies. I did mention that in my original video, and that would be a way to play off of that microphone, but I do not believe that is in the game, which is pretty sad, because that's a simple thing they could do with the megaphone that they already have an animation for, where they just have the spider fly out that time. And again, keeping it on the worried side would have made it more interesting as well. I really think that they messed up pretty bad on his moveset. I think it's pretty horrible. And then for the friendships, in my video I mentioned that it'd be fun to see Jack Skellington, which of course I got that one right. And then I said the Mad Hatter would be a fun one as well. They chose Dr. Draken, so that's certainly interesting. But I really like the idea of the Mad Hatter. I forgot that I said that. I think that's pretty fun. Because he's got such a tall hat. That's kind of a big thing about him. And I love the idea of the Mad Hatter just being infatuated with this hat, and like maybe wanting the mayor to give it to him or something. I don't know. Or maybe they both just really love hats. Who knows? But I think that'd be a lot more fun than what they did with Dr. Draken. Either way, as it usually goes, I end up kind of enjoying my moveset for the character more, and sometimes even the friends, which I definitely feel like for this one, I think that my friendship idea is better, but their art is always better than mine. And I think just like the main thing to note with their art is like the personality really shines through. Like he is so happy, energetic, and that's the big part of when he's happy. But I would love to see more of when he is worried, because that's a big part of his character too. But I really have nothing else to say. I really think they did him dirty. He doesn't do a whole lot, but he does more than what they give him credit for. If you have any thoughts, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.